Hey guys, gwyned here, Standard Pauper Deck-Tech, doing a Zombies rule. And I won game one, and here we go for game two. Let's take a look at my opener. Let's see, alright, this is kind of what I would call a borderline. Two swamps is certainly nice. Would have been nice to have maybe one more land, but I do have Perilous Mirror and Grasp of Darkness that I can play without any additional mana. If I find a third mana, it's really going to need to be an island. I'm a long way away from casting the Stitch Drake yet, but if I can find an island or a Shimmering Grotto, I'll at least be able to play Forbidden Alchemy and if nothing else, draw into an island that way. So I think this is kind of a borderline keep, but I do think it is a keep. My opponent did choose to play first, and he did choose to keep his starting 7 as well. So he starts out with a Grotto, and find a Ghoul Raiser. That's not ideal here. Pass the turn back. Opponent has a... oh, okay, it has a turn 2 Delver. That's fine. I'm going to be able to use... oh gosh, I draw Stitch Drake, okay? Well, I'm going to be able to use Grasp of Darkness on the Delver if it transforms. I think for the moment I will just go ahead and cast the Perilous Mirror. At least I can get some damage in that way. And pass it back. And see if my opponent hits. He misses. That's good for me. Alright, land. And I don't draw a land. Instead I draw a Life Staff. Here, could go ahead and equip the Life Staff, but I'm really going to want to kill that Delver if I get the chance. So I'm just going to swing in here and leave the mana up for Grasp and pass the turn back. Alright, and my opponent finds a mana leak. Okay, now this is where I make a big mistake. Right now, he hasn't actually drawn the mana leak, which I initially thought he had. It's a reveal. He doesn't actually have it in his hand yet. Right here, I could have gone ahead and cast the Grasp and go ahead and gotten rid of it, and it'd all be good. But I don't do that. I go ahead and pass the priority back. Now he draws it, and I can't do it anymore. A very easy mistake to make, but when you're playing against Delver, you actually have a step between when they reveal the card and when they actually can cast it. So big mistake there on my part, and it's definitely going to cost me. So, and particularly since it's a mana leak, I know I can't cast. I know I can't cast the Grasp because he can just leak it, unless he happens to have another play here, which he does not. I'm so far behind at this point, I figure my only hope is to draw into another removal spell, and in that case I want the mana leak out of his hand, so I just go ahead and use it now, knowing that he will cast mana leak here. And, yep, obviously I can't pay, and goes back to me, and I draw a third Stitch Drake. I mean, just sick. That's about the worst thing I could possibly draw. All I can do here is go ahead and cast the Life Staff and equip and swing in for 2. Obviously, he's already way ahead in this race and is doing an extra point of damage a turn. I am not going to be able to keep up here, but it's really the only thing I have to do. Now, interestingly enough, he does nothing, which almost guarantees he has a counter in hand. And I do draw a land, but unfortunately it's a swamp, which doesn't allow me to do anything in my hand. I could go ahead and get the Ghoul Raiser out on the board. And probably here, that would have been a smarter choice. I'm not going to get anything else in the graveyard, probably. I should have just cast it so that at least I'm winning in the race, doing 4 damage instead of just 2. But I don't. And my opponent casts an Incinerate into turn. Finds himself an island and continues the beatdowns. And I draw into a 4th swamp. And now I am going to just go ahead and cast the Gravedigger. And see, it really would have been much better for me to cast the Ghoul Raiser turn on the previous turn, and then cast the Gravedigger this turn. At least I would have had some kind of board presence and would have had a chance to keep up. As it is, I'm just continuing to fall further and further behind. My opponent finds a second Delver, and I draw into my 4th Stitch Drake. Yes, that's right, I drew all 4 and never drew a single island to go with them. Thanks, Shuffler. But that's alright. All I can do is swing in and hope that he does not transform the other one. But he, in fact, instead finds a card, and at that point I am dead, and I will go ahead and concede the turn. Or, I'm sorry, concede the game. So, pretty rough game 2, but I will be back in a minute for game 3.